everyone to Rainforest Alberta, to Lunch Without Lunch. Oh, let me get rid of these black buttons. Okay. Yeah, welcome to Lunch Without Lunch. I'm Amber Rowden. I'm the community storyteller here at Rainforest Alberta in Calgary. We have Bridget Legault, the community manager at Rainforest in Calgary. If you are new to Rainforest, please introduce yourself in the chat. Please share an emoji on the screen. We want to see all the new faces and get to know you and connect. And yeah, you can follow along with us on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. So we're going to start with a land acknowledgement. And so in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation, Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. For those in the Edmonton area, we acknowledge the traditional lands of the Treaty 6 territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, as well as the Métis. If you're coming from somewhere else in the province, in the country, or in the world, please feel free to share your own land acknowledgement in the chat. And if you're interested in sharing a land acknowledgement at the beginning of Lunch Without Lunch, please contact me or Bridget. We'd love to have you share a land acknowledgement with the group. So, Rainforest Alberta, we are a community of doers, dreamers, innovators, all committed to building culture and trust and diversity and leadership. And we have a short little video to kind of explain what Rainforest Alberta is.
What does it take to realize an idea or for a seed to sprout? At Rainforest Alberta, we know the answer is rooted in trust. Traditionally, Albertans have cultivated their ideas in established systems. Inputs that don't fit these systems are weeded out. Opportunities for growth are missed. But now, Albertans want a dynamic landscape that can evolve organically, like a rainforest. At Rainforest Alberta, we believe a culture of trust is the fertile soil where ideas grow. Our budding innovation ecosystem is a network of relationships pulling each other up as they push forward in their own field. Trust breaks down barriers. An open, inclusive network increases collaborative innovation. Successful breakthroughs inspire new ideas. A cycle begins. Rainforest Alberta is a movement to amplify trust by cultivating honesty, inclusion, and accountability. How? Our social contract holds us accountable to demonstrate trust across the province. We meet to have honest conversations around collaboration. This leads to more inclusive spaces for everyone to fearlessly build new ideas together. By raising the standard of trust, Alberta's ideas, talent, and resources can be evergreen. Visit rainforestab.ca to sign the social contract and start growing together.
So we use 6 pillars to guide our conversations and actions, and not all are weighted equally. So like any ecosystem, the right balance is crucial, and we measure these each year through our scorecard assessment. So one that we heavily focus on at Rainforest is culture, which is weighted at 30%, 20% for leaders, 15% for resources, 10% for engaged activities, 15% for policy and infrastructure, and 10% for role models. So tips to making the most of Lunch Without Lunch. Again, introduce yourself in the chat, what you're working on, what you're looking for, what you can offer. Share what you're interested in learning about today's session as well. Just share more about yourself in the chat so we can connect with each other. It's all about connection and collaboration. Connect with individuals through direct messaging, put your camera on, ask questions, lead with curiosity. Keep connecting on our Slack workspace or on our digital community platform. That's a great place to keep the conversation from today going and ask questions that you're curious about and connect with other people online. You can check out the hashtag lunch notes for capture of today's chat. And our recordings are always posted on YouTube. So if you want to check out a previous session or rewatch this one that's about to happen, you can check them out on YouTube. So each week we feature value from our social contract, and our social contract are 10 values that we live, work, and play by. We're rooted in. We we keep each other accountable. And so this week it's diversity. So I embrace diversity, strive to get equal opportunity for every person, and I'm open to meeting anyone in this community. And I think this one is, I mean, all the values are really important, but I think this one is extremely important. And being open to meeting anyone in this community and seeing where they're coming from and not judging anyone. I really love this value a lot. So I know I say like, see where you can fit this in your week, or how diversity plays a role in what you're doing this week or in your day. But I think to use this in everyday life. And so you can scan that barcode to connect with the social contract. And I will also throw a link in the chat as well. As I mentioned, you can join our digital community and ask questions that you're curious about. If you're looking for an investor, if you're looking for someone to come along with you on a journey to start a business, if you're looking for anything about tech or innovation, or a question about entrepreneurship, if you want to keep the conversation going from today, this is a great platform to use to ask those questions, to be curious, to respond to other people that you may have an answer for, and you're being purposely matched to people that can answer those questions for you. So highly recommend that you join our digital platform to keep conversations going. If you scan that barcode, it'll take you right there. And I'll also throw a link in the chat as well. So that is all from me. I'm very excited to introduce our guest speaker for today. Amara, is that how you say your name?
Amara, like America, without the cut.
Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. Amara
No, you got
is Amara is here to share the story of Easy VC and her journey along the way. So I will pass it over and pass it over to Amara.
Amazing. Thank you, Amber. I really resonated with today's social contract principle, diversity. That's really what we're targeting here at Easy VC. So it really fits the bill. Right. So hi, everyone. My name is Amara. It's great to see all the friendly faces in the group today. Where to begin? So I'll start off with Easy VC. Easy VC is a tech-enabled platform where we connect early-stage companies that are raising for pre-seed and seed and Series A to relevant and serious investors. And so we're really human-enabled in what we do. We're finding great companies that are hoping to avoid that valley of death, that are investment ready, and connect them with our network of investors. We're boots on the ground looking for investors not only within our network, but also beyond. And so everything that we do is about reducing barrier to entry, increasing access to capital, and connecting where there needs to be sparks happening. So my story is I started off in medicine, pursuing medicine. I always want to be hands-on, helping people, being that pillar of society, and started working at Canadian Wealth, which is a business solutions provider. We've been helping small, medium enterprises with the roadmap building, with growing and scaling and bursting through that stagnation point, and occasionally the tech founder. I'm sorry, that is my cat. So I've been really hands-on, learning business fundamentals, helping entrepreneurs with their woes. And the biggest thing that I heard was, right, I'm at a point where I need to start raising capital. I have some decent metrics, or I have some decent traction. But how do I take my business from, a 1 or 2 man team to scaling, servicing a broader audience, and growing our team? So raising capital is always that kind of conjunction point for a lot of tech companies and traditional businesses as well. And so Easy VC was born within the ranks of Canadian Wealth. It's always been kept private. It's been operating for 3 years privately, but now has been the time where we realized the ecosystem needs us. And not just Albertan, but other ecosystems across North America, honestly, globally. The troubles and the struggles that entrepreneurs face here is across the board the same on a global scale. And so Easy VC, we've spun it out to service not only our pipeline, but everyone else's pipeline. We're helping investors with their deal flow and helping companies avoid that valley of death, or at least make it less painful of a journey, and getting their genius and their innovation out there and funded. That's a bit about me and a bit about Easy VC. Any questions? I like a bit of a dialogue, so I can continue the conversation from here with any questions that may crop up.
Do we have your website so we can have a peek at it while we're talking?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Right. I really appreciate groups like this because in business, you can never take that human aspect out of it, especially in venture capital and especially in business entrepreneurship. Everything that we do is between humans. And as much as AI and machine learning is coming into play, we will never be able to remove that human get And so that's what our thesis and our ethos is at EasyVC is, yes, we're tech enabled, get on the platform. Let's get more eyes on your business and the greatness that you're achieving. But then on the back end, a lot of what we do is reaching out, boots on the ground, helping you find investors that are relevant. And it saves time for investors as well. Oh, yes, Martin, please.
Hey, Amara. Hey, it's
Hi,
great
Martin.
to
How
see
are
you.
you?
Congratulations on being our host or our presenter today.
Thank you.
I've got a question. So,
Absolutely.
where do you get the funding from? Are you bringing together people like the guys or the folks with the money and providing that bridge to the people that need the money? Is that how your company works?
Yeah, so great question. We're going to get into the details now. So we have over 100 investors on the platform. We have over and growing 50 million assets under management that our investors are managing. We don't touch the funds. We have nothing to do with the funds, and nor are we taking a cut off the top of the deals that are happening through EasyVC. Really, the focus of EasyVC is just connecting the two. What I like to say is on an EasyVC, the investors sit down and ask for coffee to you. And so we are meeting investors on a weekly basis, either angels, retail, individual investors, micro funds, family offices, and institutional VCs, really garnering what their thesis is. And equipped with that, we go into calls with companies, with founding teams, with entrepreneurs, and have this knowledge of what to look for, what to vet for, what to pre-qualify for. And from there, we are able to connect relevant startups, relevant founding teams to investors that align with their mission and their industry. Does that answer your question?
That's perfect, Amara. Thank you so much. That's excellent.
Thank you for the question, Martin. Yeah.
I'd love to ask how you, if you don't charge for any of this, or you must charge somewhere in this, or how do you actually stay financially afloat?
Of course. So right now we are charging the startups. It's a really minimum investment. It's a monthly subscription model. We're charging under 100 CAD a month. A lot of our competitors are either free, and I'll get into that, or they charge anywhere between 1,500 to 5,000 USD a month to hopefully make connections with investors. And you would think that you would want to pay for that if you were to guaranteed a check on the other side of it. But in this business, the reality is there's no guarantee. And so we're guaranteeing that we can connect you to investors that are relevant. The rest is really up to you, as it always has been, to fulfill and really interact with the investors in a way that fulfills your obligations. Now, the ones that are free, our competitors in the space like AngelList, please feel free to check AngelList out, Gust. There's several in the States and in the UK as well. The thing with our competitors is they're either AI driven, so completely removing that human aspect out, and you get onto a platform where any startup can be on there and any investor can be on there. That is to say that either side of that marketplace is not being vetted. So you're getting onto these platforms. Yes, there are investors that you can access and reach out to, but as a founder, you're still spraying and praying. And that's not changing anything. That's not taking any weight off your plate for yourself or the investor. At EasyVC, we're taking a lot of our time out of our day to support you and partner with you in helping you raise capital. We're actually hands-on in what we do compared to our competitors. But
Nice.
it's not for everyone. That's why AngelList and Gust are always good. alternatives if you have that time of day to spray and pray.
Are you in Calgary?
Calgary based. Yes, sir.
Nice. Have you met Sandy Gilbert?
I've met her briefly. We have not sat down yet. I know she's a deal point platform, which is
That's right. Yeah,
similar.
it's a deal registry for getting all of the war room material registered so that
Yes.
all of the paperwork can be shared back and forth and things can be vetted and that sort of stuff. So it might be an interesting relationship.
Yeah, no, a deal point is a really good tool to actually keep investments on track. And yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with NACO?
I am familiar with NACO. Yes. And Start Alberta.
Yeah. And how do you work with them, for example?
So Start Alberta, let's say, is interesting. Occasionally we'll survey their platform for potential deal flow. But the thing of Start Alberta is that you still have to take, let's say as a founder or as an investor, a lot of your time out of the day just to filter through startups.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is mitigating that timeline for both the investor and the startup. So something like Start Alberta, really great database, but you still have to be putting in the legwork to find investors that are relevant or find startups that are relevant.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you for that answer. I'll shut up now.
No, I appreciate the questions. Yeah. And here we are.
Amara, do you want to go ahead?
Really.
Yeah, hi Amara, it's good to see you. I was
Hi,
wondering
Brad.
if you could tell us a little bit more about, other than the connecting role that EasyVC plays, are there some other value offerings that EasyVC offers for founders and investors alike?
Absolutely. So when I was mentioning that EasyVC is really fitting to everyone's pipeline, that's also to say that we're really supporting the ecosystem as a whole to keep that flywheel going and to keep supporting the founders that really we wouldn't be here without. And so what that looks like for us is raising capital is this obscure black hole of a thing of, when I get there, what do I do? And while I'm in here, how do I conduct myself? And all these questions really crop up as you're raising capital, especially for first-time founders. And so our intention is to host webinars, seminars, workshops to really educate founders when they get to that point of what does raising capital look like? What's the investor relations etiquette that you should be considering? What kind of tools or documentations do you need? Really all the mechanisms and the more soft skills that you need going into a raise that should be considered. I know investors, some of their woes are wasting time with founders that are not yet ready. And so how can we really mitigate that time lost for both sides and prepare our founders within our ecosystem as much as possible before they start sitting down with investors? And for the investors, the more money in the space, the better. So how can we educate our retail investors that are curious about getting into the tech space, breaking into the innovation industry, and really giving them a clue in as to what this high risk investment looks like? What are the mechanisms that they need to follow, and the considerations that they need to have as they're coming into this space? And so we'll be facilitating those workshops and those educational seminars for both sides, both founders coming to the fold, starting to raise capital, want more insight, as well as investors that maybe have done it or have yet to do it, and getting more money at the cap table.
Cool.
So those are definitely the two audience that we're looking to support. And pitch events. If
Are you looking for introductions to different organizations?
Yes, partnerships. That is our secondary focus, is partnerships. The more we can really plug into the ecosystem and help everyone do their job better, the better for us and for the initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. There's a reason why we partner with Rainforest. We appreciate the ecosystem that they're building, and we very much want to be a part of that. Hi, Martin.
Hello again. I was just wanted to pick up. You were talking about retail investors. So I guess I'm still fairly junior in this in my understanding, but there's this concept of an accredited investor. Are you specifically dealing with accredited investors, or are you trying to sort of open up the playing field for, folks that would be interested in putting a small amount of money, not risk everything they have, but put a small amount of money because they believe in the ecosystem? Is that the sort of people that you're reaching out to as well?
Yes, we service and onboard a range of investors, the exact individual that you're speaking to, all the way to institutions. And that's because there is a dollar bill for every type of business that is out there. So we're not just focused on tech companies and the traditional innovation company. We're also focused on some traditional businesses, maybe a car wash that wants to expand, a brick and mortar store, maybe very much a consumer good, because the investors that we're servicing are interested in maybe less risky investments. And actually, to your point, Martin, one thing that I also forgot to mention is we're going to be looking to have an angel accelerator, because there's not enough of those in Alberta, that will really nurture a potential investor's understanding of what it means to be an angel investor and what that entire landscape looks like. So we can have more people that believe in the ecosystem, believe in companies, and avoid that valley of death that I've mentioned so much about.
That's great, Amara. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Hello, Gary.
Hi, Amara. Thanks for joining us today. Quick question.
Thank you for having me.
You're right. Just curious, to date, have you matched many Calgary companies with your investor platform, and what is the size of deals that you've seen come through?
Great question. So we've spun off about 4 months ago, and in that time frame have not seen any deals yet. But I can say, not too much at liberty to speak too much about the private ongoings with EasyVC, but over $1 million in deals we're seeing, over 5 deals we're seeing across kind of the private usage of EasyVC. Now that we spun off to the public, I have a lot of work to do in terms of the startups that are now on the platform and sharing them with our network. I'll give you an idea. The types of companies that we're servicing have already raised a significant amount. There's one that has raised in between $5 and $10 million for their seed and only have under 500,000 left to go. And so we're helping them get more eyes on their company. And by the time they are looking to open their next priced round is the time that we'll be helping them, again, find more investors that are relevant and want to come in at that priced round. And so to answer your question, Gary, none yet as of our public opening, but they are to come.
Have you looked at crowdfunding at all? It's very popular in the States now. They've opened the rules up.
It's very popular. Sweater VCs, that comes top of mind. Really interesting platform, really great marketing. We're different because we're still focused on investors. So kind of what Tim Martin was mentioning, it's not just for accredited, there is opportunity for non-accredited, but this is just providing deal flow rather than sourcing funding and providing that opportunity for startups. We'll let the crowdfunding do their own thing. And if you ask investors as well, crowdfunding is its own niche compared to traditional VC investment. But those are all avenues that founders can entertain for sure. EasyVC is supplementary to the capital raise journey. Hi, Alan.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. I'm hoping that you have something that protects yourself, because the one thing that I worry about, because I'm looking at your website and I see, join as a startup, join as an investor. I'm hoping that people don't go in there and go, oh, I like that one, and try to do it outside of your program. Because I really look at it as wanting to make sure that you have protection for yourself, so people aren't just meeting there and then doing it all on their own without, the person who's actually helped them to initiate such a service. So, yeah.
No, great concern. So the great thing about EasyVC compared to the AngelLists and the Gusts of the world is that we vet both sides. I take time to vet both sides. So what that looks like for, let's say, investors coming on board is it's not any Joe Schmo off the street that can come onto EasyVC. I sit down with our investors face to face, coffees, virtual chats. So I know that they're not only serious, but they're active and actively deploying. And in terms of startups, again, I'm sitting down for at least 2 calls, taking my time to really understand the team, the business model, and all the inner workings of their business. And I will also caveat that by saying, investors, if they see a great idea, they're very unlikely to want to steal that. We got to think these are high net worth individuals that don't have too much time on their hands because they're busy making money, whatever that may look like. And so they're not going to take time out of their day to steal an idea from a startup and go start their own funds, even if they have the resources. So I know that's one concern that a lot of startups have is I'd like to get the investors to sign an NDA. Absolutely, that's in your right. Just keep in mind, it's really unlikely that they would want to steal what you have going on. That's not to say to not be careful. There's always interesting individuals out there.
Right. Well, yeah, I know I'd seen that a little bit in one of my previous companies. So yeah, I was hoping that you were covered. So yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's actually a one-way screen the way EasyVC is built. So when you're a startup, you can't see any of the investors, nor can you see any of the other startups. And that's built that way. So it's hands-off for you as a founder. You put your pitch on EasyVC and then you're hands off from there. And then what we do is, like I mentioned, boots on the ground, looking for investors that are relevant. The only time you would revisit EasyVC is when you get a message from investors. And what that does is it initiates conversation, it initiates dialogue. And the whole point is to hopefully you've answered all the questions right, and you can now sit down for coffee. The investor wants to grab that coffee with you and continue the DD from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you actually talk to the investors, i.e. in the form of, such and such or an unknown company has great traction, it's in your wheelhouse. Can we make an introduction, or do you let the two just find each other?
So I would say it's about 40-60. 40% is investors that have a bit of time to spare, can be on the platform. And hi, Gary, by the way, looking at companies at their leisure, reaching out when it makes sense. 60% of the time is me actually taking that EasyVC pitch share link and delivering it directly into their email inbox. Hey, I think this is in alignment with your investment thesis, your B2B SaaS tech, and great team. I've met them all, amazing dynamic, great traction thus far, large enough market size, check them out. So they'll proceed to open the link, look at the pitch on EasyVC, and if they're interested, start the conversation on the platform. There are security measures in place where you're not just wasting time with the individual because they're real, because I've made sure it's so. And if you're sitting down for coffee, it's because it's been known by both sides. So very little time wasted on both ends.
So it sounds to me like to expand EasyVC globally, shall we say, you're going to need a lot more of you somewhere.
More or less. The same way venture funds have venture analysts or associates is the same way we'll have analysts looking through the pitches, making sure they're sitting down with the founders, really kind of the same idea. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for coming in. But yeah, absolutely, Gary, more or less the same. I like to think that we're kind of a plug and play of deal flow and connection making. Plug and play is globally everywhere. They've set up camp literally everywhere. And so we're intending to do that, plug into all the startup ecosystem that exist, current or emerging markets, and service them by centralizing all the deal flow and connecting them with relevant investors. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, I said I'd shut up, but here it is again.
Oh, no.
Just is there an appetite in your view for investors, angels or otherwise to get involved in existing businesses to potentially buy them, take them over, do that whole merger acquisition and then start paying dividends back to themselves and or other people? Or is there an appetite for that type of deal?
A merger and acquisition. To that initially, I'm thinking we don't focus on M&As. There's certainly other platforms that do so, but that's not to say if you have a really great investment opportunity, traditional or otherwise, that we wouldn't want you on the platform, especially if your business plan is spoken for. You've been in business for several years and have great metrics. Speaking to the dividends piece, that's something a less tech and more risk-averse investor would be interested in. So there's an appetite there. And certainly I would be going out and finding more of those for your business.
I'll follow up later. I've left my email and phone number there. We'll have a chat. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peter, for all your questions.
Do we have any founders in the audience that maybe want to ask some questions related to how they, might use EasyVC or connect in? I know we have Alicia here from previously SOSAR. I forget the new name, Alicia. Looking through, Michael, looks like you're a founder. Sorry to call folks out, but just curious if any of the founders would like to ask Amara any questions.
Yeah, pick my brains. I have good investor insight as I talk to them on a
exactly, which is fantastic. And we always have folks coming to the Rainforest asking for investor insight. And it's hard for them to do that research themselves when they're working so hard on their businesses.
Exactly.
It's Michael. I'll try a question. I'm picking up an idea that I had that I worked on a bit a year ago and going to see if it can work. So I'm really early. I'm far too early to have a conversation with anybody about funding. So how do I know when I do get to the point where your services could be helpful to me?
So I'll answer on a more broad scale and then kind of hone in from there. When you're ready to raise capital, when either, let's say with technology, you're kind of at your limit, you've bootstrapped as much as you can, taken on loans as much as you can, you have a tight team that's running at full capacity, and you have some traction already as well. So that could mean you already have a bit of a user base, or your proof of concept is kind of thought through and validated. That is to say, you have this idea that you've taken and you really tested in the market and have gotten great feedback and it's receptive. And so we've gotten to a point where revenue is now what you're looking to achieve, but it's either a tech or a human capacity, human capital that you're in need of to really make you cross over that mark. And so raising capital, dilutive capital could be a good opportunity, as well as grants, whatever the idea may be. That is kind of the broad answer. Yeah, when raising more money is the differentiator between slow success and scaling success.
Okay.
In terms of EasyVC, what we look for is investment readiness in our eyes is when you have a great team. So they either have deep expertise or they're really hungry to make a difference in the space. They have some traction either in monthly recurring revenue or a really strong user base to say that, hey, look at our early adopters that really want a product. And market size, how big is the market? Is it big enough where investors would be able to see return on their investment?
Right. Okay, good. That helps. Thanks very much.
Yeah, of course. Michael, we can always carry this conversation offline as well, give you more
Sure
detail.
Great question, Michael.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you give advice with over dilution with cap table, kind of how much we should portion of our company that we should give up, and the amount that we would be taking in, and then down the line, just to protect ourselves that we don't lose control over the company and stuff like that?
I'm sorry, I'm just looking for the face that is speaking.
That's me.
Richard. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay, you're on the 4th page there. Great question. So in terms of dilution, let me ask you, what stage are you at of your company?
We're past validation. We have users. We're starting to build revenue.
Okay, starting to build revenue. So a good rule of thumb is to hand out 10 to 20% of your company, 20 being the higher at this stage. When it comes to dilution, if you want to grow fast, then you hand out a bit more equity. That's if there are checks that are almost coming to your doorstep that really like what you're doing and they really want to be a part of it now. But I would say, yeah, max 20%. I would err on the caution of 10 to 15. And that depends on how much you're looking to raise as well. And then valuation. So that's a question that gets into the weeds a little bit, but I wouldn't give too much. I would not give too much. A good investor as well, if there's a strategic investment, they'll want to preserve as much of your equity as possible because they understand on the timeline of growth and scaling of a company that they are going to get diluted. So a really sharky investor will want to take more upfront, but if they're providing that much value, maybe consider it. But for the most part, it's not the case. So really think about, are they going to take me to where I want to be? Do they have industry expertise? Do they have the connections? And how much are they putting in? What's the check size? But for the most part, 10 to 15% is a healthy amount. Yeah.
And comparing kind of like domestic investors with international investors, kind of like Canadian corporations and American corporations, what are the main caveats between the two?
So the investors in our brother nation there, the States and us, Canadians are much more conservative. Our brethren down south have a higher tolerance for risk. And that's just because their markets have been born and grown for longer than we have, Silicon Valley being the heartbeat of it all. And they have more money and more of a population. So on all kind of points, they have more than us. And so they can what's the word? They can afford to put in more and be more risk averse because of the competition, because they grow much faster than we do. Let's say a company that can exit within 3 to 5 years, it takes 5 to 7 years in Canada, to give you an idea. Exiting, M&A, IPO, whatever that may look like. And Canadian investors, because we're a bit younger of an ecosystem, are just more risk averse. And it might be in the water as well somehow, but those are the major differentiators between the two. So you'll see less of a check size here. You'll see investors poke around more. They want to see more. They're going to go through a longer and more intensive due diligence process with the companies here as well. Whereas in the States, you can make a deal right off of a handkerchief.
Yeah.
And then how many investors, like let's say I do take on international investment, should I expect them to ask me to relocate? Is that?
So if you're to attract US investment, I know Marty raised his hand there, to attract US investment, you really have to have a strong game plan to expand in the States and even globally. US investors don't like to invest in Canadian companies that want to stay within the confines of Canada. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your question.
Like, would they expect me to like move?
Move across. Perhaps, but honestly, that might be in the best interest of your company. Like you might come to that conclusion yourself, is to move down to Seattle, San Francisco, New York, Silicon Valley, just to expand and scale faster. So they might push for it, but it's more or less in the best interest of you and your company. And that's
Yeah, sorry, Mara. I'm going to maybe just jump in because of timing, and we want to give everybody some opportunity to connect and to continue the conversation. I know there are people in the room who have likely raised rounds before, or those with more questions that maybe could be answered from others in the community as well. I can try to put Richard and Amara in the same room so they can continue that conversation, and then we'll have everybody come back in a short time, 7-ish minutes, and we'll reshuffle and spin the wheel again. So
Okay.
I will open those rooms momentarily. Amara, if you just hold tight for a second, and then I'll try to get you and Richard through.
No worries.
Okay, there you are. Okay. Somebody make for a larger room there, but that's okay. We'll be back shortly. Have fun getting to know each other and continue the conversation.
Thanks, Bridget.
Thanks, Amara. Sorry to.
No, I understand.
Coats. Thanks for everybody for sharing and taking time together. And big thank you to Amara and EasyVC. I'm sure many of you want to connect with her after the fact, and please do that. A quick little shout out to a lot of things happening this week, like holy smokes, every week. Might be sold out, but Women BIPOC pitch night at Innovate Calgary is this evening. Launchpad, Mount Royal's biggest startup pitch event, is also happening tonight. There might be tickets left there. Tomorrow night, Tacit Edge program at SAIT, they're doing a demo day of their participants' projects. So if you don't know, Tacit Edge takes and SAIT take in clients to have their students who are UI, UX, and product managers work on their projects for them. So if you want to check out what the outcome looks like, that's happening tomorrow. I wish I could go, but I have to hit an elementary school dance. So dang. We got announcements lining up here. I'm going to give it to Marty, and you can go in order on the screen.
Oh, sorry. I had actually one last question for Amara, because today's topic is diversity. I was wondering what Amara's take was on the investor, sort of the investor ecosystem. Are we seeing a lot of growth in diversity, or is it plateauing, or is it getting worse or better? I just wondered what Amara's opinion was on that. And I'm sorry, there might not be enough time to take that question.
Yeah, you know what? If you don't mind, and I don't know if Amara can stay, but if anyone would like to stay on after Amara, do you have a few more minutes to stay on for a few more questions? Yes. Okay, awesome. Al, do you want to go?
Thank you.
Yes, please. I am super excited and proud that our very own Bridget Legault has started a really, really cool series on the Leaders, Innovators, and Big Ideas podcast based on women in tech. And the first episode launched yesterday, and it's excellent. And I strongly encourage you to make this the most listened to episode of the Leaders, Innovators, and Big Ideas podcast ever. It's libi.ca if you want to go and check it out. Thanks, Bridget.
Yeah, thanks, Al. It's with April Hickey from Toast. Check it out. Great conversation. Thanks, Al. Sorry it took me so long. Shelley?
Hi, yeah, I'm really excited to be facilitating a small how-to workshop called How to Lightning Decision Jam, and it's hosted by Calgary UX on next Wednesday, April 12th at 6 p.m.
Fantastic. If the link's not in the chat, toss it in there. That'd be great. Pete?
Just wanted to say quickly that you guys missed a great little get together. If you weren't there, Al was there. We had some beers last night and talked about bikes and having fun in the Branch Out Foundation. So I'll get this posted in the with our link, but we're creating a really super strong team here of about 20 people to race around the mountains and have fun and drink beer and talk about mental health.
Awesome, B. And then if you have to drop off, thanks for coming today. We'll see you next week. We'll be at the Investors Lounge, which is right upstairs from the pitch stage at Platform. And we'll be hosting Careers in Innovation and Technology, Careers in City, Zach Novak's Community for Career Pivoters. Too many acronyms. And it will be a fun conversation. Come in person. It is such a valuable experience, and hang around Platform while you're there. Go ahead, B.
a Mount Royal Launchpad pitch competition is sold out. But there's a link in the chat. You can still live stream it.
Sweet, thanks. Ross?
Just dropped it in chat there again. Civic Tech next Tuesday coming up on the 11th. We've got our discussion going on about compassionate and universal design across industries.
Cool, that's awesome. And Amber, any final words, last words?
No, you just hit it on the lunch that I was going to say. So.
Oh yeah, sorry, snuck it in. Coolio. Okay, so we'll go back to the question that Marty had for Amara. Thanks everybody. If you have to go, have a great rest of the week.